let's talk about how I earned my first 1 million naira. Now, it was Grant Cardone in his excellent book, The Millionaire Booklet, that said that the major reason why so many people never ever earn their first $1 million is not because they couldn't have done so. Rather, it's because they never thought that they could do so. Now, Cardone was saying in that book that many people don't ever make their first $1 million, not because they lack the IQ, not because they lack the capacity or the capability of doing so, but they never ever earn their first $1 million because they never imagined they could. It never came into their consciousness. They never believed they could do so. And this is very true, especially amongst people who grew up in poverty. Of course, you know that poverty is endemic in this side of the world. Now, growing up in my home so many years ago, money was not so free-flowing. And because of that, money was never in my consciousness, right? Earning millions or becoming a millionaire wasn't a goal for me. It wasn't in my consciousness until something happened so many years after I graduated from the university. Now, I was living in a particular country and there was a political change, right? There was a political change in their government. And with that change in politics came a lot of economic upheavals. Now, I saw so many people thrown into abject poverty. There was so much suffering, so much lack everywhere. And it made me to begin to ask questions. Now, I began to ask, why so much hardship? Why so much poverty? Now, how do people even get wealthy? Now, before this time, I have been a person of books. I've always loved to read books, right? I am that person who will read my Bible cover to cover every year. And I read every beautiful book that comes along my path, especially when they are spiritual books now. And as I was reading, I was equally learning. I'm the type that love to learn, right? Yeah, and I had the added advantage that I was living in a nation where light was constant and internet was available. So I was I kept learning. But when it came to things that had to do with finances, reading financial books was not in my program. Now, but when I began to ask questions, why so much poverty? Why, are so many people suffering? How do people create wealth? I began to read financial books. I began to listen to teachings on finances. And the things I discovered, all right, the truths I discovered were the things that enabled me to make my first $1 million naira. And I want to share a few of those tips, right? I want to share a few of the things that I learned that enabled me to be able to earn my first 1 million naira. Now, the very first thing that, I got from those books I read was the fact that money is not a respecter of persons. Money is not a respecter of persons. Rather, money is a respecter of principles. Money is a respecter of principles. Now, it was Richard Templar that said, and I quote, he said, "I have watched a lot of extremely wealthy people, and one thing they all have in common is that they have nothing in common." Yes, Templar said that he had watched a lot of very wealthy people, and that one thing they have in common is that they have nothing in common. By that, Templar was saying that he has seen wealthy, very wealthy women, he has seen very wealthy men, he has seen very wealthy black men, very wealthy white men. In other words, that there are no commonalities, okay? People in professions, people who are professionals who were wealthy, some other people who were unskilled people, and they are equally wealthy. So that made me realize that anybody can create wealth, right? It's easy to think that there are some special people who are created to be millionaires, but that truth shattered that myth, right? It made me realize that anybody who is able to apply the principles of wealth creation can create wealth, right? Can make their first million, just anybody, right? Now, that was the very first thing I gained from the financial books I read. Now, the next thing I learned from those financial books is that financial literacy usually precedes financial freedom. Now, that's actually a quote from Brian Tracy. Brian Tracy said that financial literacy precedes financial freedom. I had someone say that the secret about making money, the secret about making millions is that there are no secrets. Now, by that person means that all the secrets you need, all the tips, all the lessons that can enable you, or that can equip you, or that can aid you in making millions, that they are all in books out there. They are all available in books. They are available on YouTube. They are available in teaching tapes. They are available everywhere. So there are no secrets to these things. They are all, written in books. The world has been blessed with a lot of people who created a lot of wealth over the years, and they have written books, and they have put down the tips, the secrets, in their books, and they are all accessible for anybody who cares to read. But unfortunately, so many people are too lazy, right, to pull themselves out of their couches. People prefer to sit down and watch entertainment-based programs. Many people are so entertainment-driven that they have no time to pay attention to financial literacy, right? They have no time to pay attention to financial literacy. I saw a quote not too long ago where someone says that nobody can successfully get married. Nobody can go through marriage without knowledge. And that applies also to wealth creation. People can hardly create wealth who do not know how to do so. You see, I have a lot of respect for female pilots, right? But if you hand me the chains, the keys of an aeroplane, and you tell me to fly it, I might not be able to do so. Now, is it because I lack the IQ to fly a plane? No. Is it because I lack the ability or the capability to fly a plane? No, I cannot fly a plane simply because I have not learned how to fly planes. I have not trained for it. And that's how it is also when it comes to making your first million or making your millions in life. If you've not learned financial literacy, if you have not paid attention to learning it, you will not be able to do it. If you've not paid attention to reading good books, listening to teachings on wealth creation, you will not be able to create wealth. Not because you lack the ability, but because you do not know how to do it. You have not read good books. That tells me that the poverty that is so endemic in this part of the world is linked somehow to our lack of a reading culture. Many people are not willing to read books. Now, the third thing I learned that helped me to make my first million is that the major difference between the rich and the poor is the fact that while the rich saves money and invests their money, that poor people spend everything they earn and wait for the next month, wait for the salary of the next month. In other words, wealthy people have learned how to cause their money to work for them and breed more money for them, while the poor spend everything they earn and start waiting or depending on the next month's salaries, right? Now, someone says that money breeds money. It was actually Templar, still Richard Templar, that said that everyone should aspire to save up some money, put some money together, and allow that money to begin to breed more money for them. He says money loves to breed money, that money loves clustering together, money loves moving together, just the same way you put two rabbits in a room, two adult rabbits, male and female. You come back in a few months, you will see that the room is filled with baby rabbits. Why? Because the rabbits breed. The rabbit has a gestation period of 31 days, and they give birth to many babies, and they breed. So the common denominator between the rabbit and money is that they all breed. Rabbits breed rabbits and money breeds money, right? So you see, now most of the books I read said that the easiest way to make your million, the easiest way to create wealth is to leverage your gifts and your talents. You leverage your gift and your talents. What are those things that come naturally to you? Those things that you're gifted in doing. If you can do them and do them consistently, you'll be able to create wealth. And in fact, Steve Harvey pushes that further by saying that whatsoever you do to earn $10, if you do more of it, you will make $100. And if you concentrate and do more and more and more of it, you will hit the $1 million mark. So that's how to do it, right? Okay, so by doing what you love to do, you can see that principle in the Bible, the principles of saving. You know, the Bible says Joseph counseled Pharaoh. It says in the years of abundance, he counseled him that to save 20%. And the 20% that Joseph saved, the 20% that Pharaoh saved in the days of abundance was what sustained them in the years of famine. That's not a Bible story. That's a principle for life, right? Still in the Bible, it was said that a person who spends everything she earns, a person who spends everything he earns, is a fool. That cannot be you. So having read all these principles, having learned all these principles, what did I do? I set a goal to save my first million Naira, okay? And I know that, I know that it's something you do gradually. So I set a goal and I began to save. I leveraged my gifts. I write books, right? I write books and I've written quite a good number of beautiful money books, right? I'll show some of them. I put the link to my money books in this link. You will love them. They're very easy to read and comprehend, right? Okay, so I began to save the monies that I was getting from my books, from my teachings. I began to put them together. They were in trickles, but that wasn't a distraction. They were coming in trickles, but I began to put them together. In fact, one of the things that helped me then was the fact that I had watched a documentary on ant hills, how ants, as tiny as they are, were able to build gigantic ant hills. They were putting grain upon grain, little by little, until they were able to build gigantic ant hills, right? Okay, so that tells me that with consistency, just the same way those ants were building consistently, they were able to come up with something enormous, right? So I began to put my money together, began to save little by little. And the beautiful thing is this: someone says that when you say yes to God, He gives you everything you need to make it happen. Now, because it's a principle, savings is a principle found in the Word of God. As I made up my mind to begin to save, somewhere along the line, heaven stepped in. Somewhere along the line, something happened, right? I had somebody bought about 500 copies of my books in one go and paid me about 500,000 Naira. And then it gave my savings a boost. And then as I continued to save, I was able to reach my 1 million mark, right? Yes. Okay, so that is to say that anybody, just anybody, can make $1 million Naira or $1 million in any currency where you live. It is not for some special people. It's for every child of God. The Bible tells us that God says, I desire in the prosperity of the righteous. God is interested in our prosperity. And you see, I just came back from the village, right? As I moved around in my village, I saw a lot of needs. There are so many people who need help. So when we talk about creating wealth, or when we talk about setting a goal to create wealth, it's not because you are greedy. It's just because you want to be a blessing. Yes. You want to be a blessing. So you earn money, you set a goal, make your first million, put it aside, invest wisely, and allow your money to begin to breed more money so that you will have to be able to help the needy, right? Thank you so much for being a part of this beautiful video. I encourage you to acquire financial literacy. That's where it all starts, right? That's the starting point for wealth creation. I know about this obnoxious statement that if you want to hide anything from an African man, you should put it in a book. That shouldn't be you. Make up your mind to read very good books, okay? And until I come your way next time, keep thriving.